Hey, welcome back, Wheelies and Dark Friends, and welcome to Tarman Guide. And finally, we are here. We are at the last battle. After 13 and a half books, we are here for the final fight, and I cannot tell you how excited I was about this. I talked about it in a previous video where, like, I put my wife's hand in my heart and I like feel this, and my heart was just like pounding and my hands were shaking, and that's not hyperbole. I was really this nervous about it, and I felt like it was the first time I had been this nervous or excited for the ending of a book since the Deathly Hallows. I think that was the last time I was that invested enough to be nervous about what was going to happen at the ending. And I know that anytime you mention Harry Potter, people get their nose up in the air, but that's just kind of where I was. It was a big deal to me. So it shows you how much I was invested. And this is where I first started really realizing this is going to have an emotional impact on me, whether I really believed it or not, because I didn't. I didn't think it was going to, but it did. But guys, let's jump into the last battle here. Demandred proves to be the only Forsaken who can get shit done. He just shows up and starts just lightning blasting everything, and he takes out Eludra's dragons like there's nothing to him, like they're just tin cans. But it's brutal. This guy does not mess around, and that's just the beginning. This guy wrecks shop this entire battle, and I'm like, where have these guys been the entire series or whatnot? But Matt deciphers that there is a mole within the battle command. Actually, I think Land does first, and then Matt figures it out too. But Matt decides he's going to do a little rope-a-dope. That's his strategy. He's going to kind of get Demandred to overcommit a little bit, and he starts staging a fight with Tuon to get the Shan to leave. You know, kind of make him like, oh, okay, yeah, they're abandoning, haha. It's something that I believe that Rand and Perrin did in Crown of Swords, if I'm recalling correctly. I don't know, a lot of words since then. So it's something you've seen done before, but I feel like it's done obviously to a more pressure this time. I mean, when that happened in Crown of Swords, I was like, I think that was staged. I'm not even sure. Obviously, with this, you do, but even once Matt wonders, oh, gosh, I hope she wasn't serious. Oh, Matt he's just got all the best lines in this. But he commands Galad to hold the river and for Land to try to flank them from behind. And that pretty much takes care of Land until his moment. Because trust me, Land shows the fuck up. Big time here. Gawyn notices these cracks in the rocks around them. It says that they seem to be like pure nothing. And I think it's Yukuri who says that it's the result of so much balefire being used. So I'm thinking, all right, okay, they're just freaking ripping holes right in the pattern, aren't they? And that's pretty much the conclusion that Egwene comes up with, too. And she comes up with a solution later, we'll get to. But Egwene notices then that Gawyn has disappeared, and he sends Swan to assist Matt and Tuon. Basically, like I said, there's a lot of second guessing to Matt's strategies here. And they kind of all realize that they're being dicks, like I said, and that Matt knows what he's doing. Not to bring that up again. It was just something that I kept being like, see, give the guy some credit, you know? But Gawyn is basically on a suicide mission to take out Demandred. And I know how most of the fandom feels about Gawyn. I have no problem with this. I've had a lot of people being like, oh, he's just being a douche, like he always is. He just wants to be a glory hound. I don't look at this as him glory hounding. I don't look at this as being any more of a glory hound than Land does when he goes after him. I think it's just because people had these preconceived notions about Gawyn going into this. Like, oh, that's not true because he knows that if he dies, it's just going to hurt Egwene. Well, if Land dies, is it not going to hurt Nynaeve? The most powerful Aes Sedai there is, maybe? I find it a weak argument. So do I like Gawyn? Not really. I've always been indifferent to him. I've always said that I felt like he was one of the best sword fighters in this universe. Not the best. I got really corrected for saying that, and I got fact checked on that one. But this fight is awesome. He uses the blood knives that he got, the rings that he got from the blood knives assassins, and it's just, like I said, the hair standing up on the arms. I thought that, well, obviously Jordan did. Obviously, we know Sanderson can write an action scene. Here's the problem with this: is I don't know where to give the credit here. I'm just going to give it to both men. So Sanderson and Jordan both know how to write such good action, and this sword fight is awesome. And I mean, when Demandred actually does run Gawyn through, I gasped out loud. That's how into it I was. It was such a good fight. I had a blast with it. And it sucks that it ended like it did, but I just didn't see that Gawyn was going to be the guy who took out Demandred. I didn't see it, and I feel like this is the part where they're like, okay, we got to get the body count going a little bit. I don't know why Gawyn got such an increased role in the story unless it was just for this moment. But I'm glad it did, because if he didn't get any further development, like it or not, I feel like this would have been like, that seems really random. Again, I've always been kind of indifferent on Gawyn, but it sucked. It sucked quite a bit. So Sylviana suggests that Egwene pass Gawyn's bond to her since she's more important to the battle. And Egwene's like, you can't tell Egwene nothing. She's like, no, absolutely not. So she goes to try to find Gawyn. Fael and Olver, I talked about, they're on kind of like a side quest, but obviously it's very important. It's the Horn of Valere. They got to get the Horn of Valere to Mat, but they're eventually separated, and that's all I'm going to tell you about Fael, because every time Fael came up, it was just that she was in some trouble. And I just don't hate Fael. Anyhow, I was more into Olver's part of this than I was Fael's. But Rand is kind of locked in a battle of wills with the Dark One. This whole fight, they're like showing each other possible futures, like what would be like. Here's what I would do if I was in control. Here's what I would do if I was in control. Here's the world without you. Here's the world if I win. It's an interesting take. It's just, I don't know if this is kind of this made me think of Stuttering Bill in Stephen King's It, where they're actually having like the Battle of Wills, and I'm just like, this is really what we're going to do here. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if I was expecting some big epic sword fight or magic fight or something. I don't know. I don't know that this actually could have, there was anything they really could have done that could have satisfied me, really, if I'm being honest here. I just don't think this was it. It was okay. I did like that it kept calling him adversary, and that all of its dialogue was in capital letters, and at one point, Rand's actually switches to the capital letters. I actually thought that was a typo at first, but it had its good parts, and I enjoyed it for the most part. But I feel like that would have been something a bit more fun, like some of the earlier books, showing possible futures or whatnot. I don't feel like that was the final battle kind of thing for me. So I've heard that this is the part that Jordan wrote completely by himself. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Again, that's just what I've been told. And I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. Maybe this is something that'll grow on me more in time. But as of right now, I'm still kind of like, not really the kind of the final battle that I wanted out of those two. I did kind of like the idea of this is a world without the Dark One, and it's like this perfect utopia, and everyone's just like a brain dead idiot. And that's an interesting take. A world without evil. People. You would think that people don't know how to take care of themselves, but I think they do. They're just, boring, for lack of a better word. I don't know. I'm just not wild about it. I'm not wild about it. And the biggest thing I'm not wild about is having Nynaeve and Moiraine just stand there the whole time. That's what they do in this book. So it's like, why did we even bring Moiraine back? I mean, yeah, I like that reunion scene. I just would have liked to see her do something more than this. The same with Nynaeve. And I'll get into what I would like to have seen Nynaeve do in this book when it happens. I think you probably know what I'm going to say, right? So basically, anything in the Pit of Doom, it was fine. It just kind of missed the mark a little bit for me. But let's see here. Galad actually, he receives a message from Mat with a copy of the Foxhead Medallion and gets told, go up there and kick some ass. Take out as many of them as you can, right? And this is what Galad wants. He wants to fight. He doesn't want to just stand there, right? The Trakan family, man, they love to just bust up some stuff. But Logain arrives and he tells Mat, I don't think any of you got a shot at Demandred, so why don't you let me take a poke at him? And even Mat's like, look, you don't have a shot. You don't have a shot, but you know what? It might buy me some time, so go crazy. Go crazy. Really wish we'd got a different Logain in this book, and that'll be one of my things I talk about here at the end. But Mat notices that there is a gray man in the room, and does it ever determine how Mat is able to see gray men and no one else can? Am I misinterpreting that? Has someone else been able to see them as easily as he can? I don't know. Anyway, he throws a knife at it, catches it, and all that. There's just a big skirmish, and you see Min is about to be killed when Swan shows up and just stops a dude's heart and kills him. And I'm like, finally! I finally got Swan back doing something important, right? not so much. Just the first death that actually floored me a little bit. And I think it floored me because of the way that Sanderson wrote it. She's like, okay, let's get Swan and get out of here. And it's like Matt pointed to the corner at Swan and just said, dead. I'm like, what, that's it? Just dead. So yeah, it was one of those where I was sitting there with my mouth hanging wide open. And I said a couple of wish lists ago that I wish that this was a character that she was a badass at first, and then she just kind of just did nothing. Just did nothing. Just doing the eyes and ears thing for like 15 books. And not 15, but, good 7 or 8 now. And I was like, okay, she's finally back to do something. But, that's what happens in war. People die. It sucks. It sucks a lot. I do think it was neat that right there before then that Min did bring up the whole viewing about her and Gareth Bryn. If you guys separate, it's going to be bad. You're both going to, one or both of you are going to die. And when she gets there, she tells her it could still happen. She's like, no, we took care of that. That's our problem. So when she dies, and then of course Gareth Bryn dies. It kind of off page. I'll talk about the off page deaths when I get to the end here. Swan did tell Min that it was more important to save Matt. Even if it cost her and Gareth Bryn's lives. So she obviously went out like she should have. That's the kind of big deaths in the series that I think you should have. And some people have said, like, oh, I don't know if I'd call that a big death. It's a character that's been here since, what, book 2? Yeah, I think that's a pretty big death. I think that's important. And it's not like it's just some random Aes Sedai that you've heard of once or twice. I think that's pretty major. It's a pretty major death, especially after seeing her in New Spring. Like, okay, this is a big deal here. I do wish we'd gotten actually to see like more reaction from Moraine about it. But again, you can't do everything here. It's like I can't talk about everything. Timothy Raleigh, that's a fella who actually sent me a question in the live chat in case you guys missed it. And you want to know what death was spoiled for me? That was the one, Swan. Swan's death, all I did was I went into Google and I was typing her name to make sure that I was spelling it right, which is so stupid because it's just for notes. Who cares if you're spelling her name right? You could write S-W-A-N. Would it matter? It wouldn't matter, right? And it auto-completed to Swan dies in the last battle. And I was like, damn it. So I was kind of hoping it would end up not being true because that'll happen. The autocomplete sometimes will come up and it'll be something that isn't true at all. But no, that one did spoil me. And the other one, there was another big spoiler I've been talking about several books now. I found out while reading The Great Hunt that Galad was the half-brother of Rand. And I, at one point, thought that maybe I had missed them actually bring this up or that it was going to end up not being true. So it's because it just feels like it's kind of thrown out casually here. And I'm like, is this like common knowledge to other people and I missed it or whatnot? But man, these family trees, they start getting so freaking crazy that, sometimes you can just forget about these things or not even and think about it. And at the end, does it really even make a huge difference? Not really, except for, Galad gets to have some badass lines when he goes and does what he does next. He finds the dying Gawyn there, and he tells him of his relation to Rand, and he asks Galad not to hate Rand. So on his deathbed here, Gawyn lets go of all that hate that he had for Rand, and it was past due. I felt like he kind of came to grips with that last book or whatnot. So again, not a Gawyn hater, but it was kind of cool to see him let that go there at the end. But Galad fights Demandred now, and this is even better. This is even better than the one with Gawyn because I'm like, well, shit, maybe he's got a chance. I don't know. Maybe he's got a chance. And he has the best line. He comes up and Demandred's like talking all this back and forth with him. And finally, Galad just goes, are we going to fight, Son of Shadows, or are we going to talk? And that's when they start fighting. Pumped, man. I was so pumped. And I hated that they actually went to another chapter or another character at this point because I wanted to see this fight really good. But man, Demandred, he is just laying the Trakan family out in this book, son. He is just taking them out. He lops off his arm. And I'm like, if you're just going to keep taking out Trakan characters, can we have Morghese walk up here next? Get rid of her, get her off the board? I jest. Sorta. But yeah, he basically just says, like, if you live, tell Luce Theron to quit being a little coward and come fight me. And that's basically what Demandred does the rest of this battle, is just taunt everybody and be like, face me, Luce Theron, So good bad guy in this one. I think that Demandred actually shows out to be to me, even more than Moradin or Ishamael, to be the man. He is the best villain, I think, in this entire series, just in this one book, because he actually can kick some ass. And in fact, I'm actually kind of sad we didn't get to see him and Rand duel. I think that would have been badass. So who knows? Maybe it happened in another age, and we just didn't get to see it. I think he actually does say that. I was always a better sword fighter than Lews Therin, but he was a better sword fighter, but I was better overall, or vice versa, something like that. God, I would love to have seen that. Speaking of the Trakan family, Elaine gets kidnapped. What a surprise, right? And Brigitta gets beheaded. I'm like, holy hell, Sanderson, Jordan, or whoever. This is brutal. I couldn't believe this. I knew there were going to be deaths, but they're just so sudden. They're not melodramatic in any way. They just bam, they just happen. And it's if it's done for shock value, it works. Because both times I'm shocked here. But they say that the Dark One wants her children, and they prepare to cut them out of her. Damn, this is going dark, right? But Ulver is actually riding with Bella, trying to escape some Trollocs. And Bella is killed for like no reason, no damn reason at all. Totally unnecessary, Sanderson. You might as well kill Bill the Pony in Fellowship of the Ring or something here. This is uncalled for. Uncalled for. We all know Bella's the creator anyway, right? But he hides from them, and they're in this crevice that they can't get to, and they're reaching for him. And it's actually quite. As a father of a young boys, I was like, oh my God, this is terrible, right? And so he decides as a last resort to blow the Horn of Valere, and it works. And it's revealed that because Matt died, back in Shadow Rising, he's no longer bound to the horn. So he blows the horn, and the Hawkwing's army shows up, including a fresh new Brigitta who saves Elaine, because that's what Brigitta does. She saves Elaine. So really cool, really good moment. It was worth it, I think. It makes the time we spent with Ulver actually make a lot of sense. I've heard there are a lot of theories about Ulver. I haven't actually dipped into those yet. So that'll be interesting to kind of go and look for after I come down off this emotional trip I've been in. Yeah, so Elaine gets saved by Brigitta again. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? Egwene goes to fight Mazrim Taim, and this is the big showdown here. And he weaves balefire at her, and she discovers a new weave. Apparently is like the opposites, or like the brother-sister kind of match to balefire, where it does like the opposite effect. And I'm thinking of, this is going to sound really funny, I'm thinking of a Big Trouble in Little China, where Lopan and Egg Shin are fighting with the crystals, and you see like the lasers, and you see like the two people fighting with a sword. That's what I was imagining right here. Big Trouble in Little China is great, guys, if you haven't watched that. But it's called I think later, the chapter was called The Flame of Tarvalon, and later I think it's kind of referred to as The Flame of Tarvalon, which restores the pattern, but it kills her, and it kills Mazrim Taim, and it fixes all of the cracks that we were seeing earlier, and it takes out most of the Sharans with her. And I was stunned. I was stunned quite a bit. I felt more like they were setting up Egwene to be the hero of the story more likely than this. And I mean, in many ways, I guess she is. And you guys are going to think this is some of my Egwene hatred here. I think that this should have been Nynaeve. I really believe that this should have been Nynaeve, because she's the more powerful one, and I feel like it would have had a bigger emotional impact, because her and Lan not going to be able to be together now, and her and Lan, I mean, I guess that's the big one. Her and Lan aren't going to be able to be together now, but I grew to love Nynaeve over this series, and I feel like it would have been absolutely devastating. I'm glad she lived. Don't misunderstand me. Just to me, I think this movie would have been bigger if it had been Nynaeve, and Egwene had been the one that had been in there with Moraine while Rand is facing the Dark One. That's what I think it should have been. That's what I would have changed. But this isn't bad. This is good stuff. It's really good. And a lot of people think, oh, you hate Egwene, so you must have been. That was one of the comments in the About That review video I did, was that where people were like, oh, are you happy that Egwene died? No, I didn't want to see any of these characters die. It was a story arc, guys. It was a simple story arc I didn't like. The end. Does she act like a petulant brat? Sure, but I don't want to see any of my Two Rivers folks die. That would suck. So it was a very worthy sacrifice, a way to go out, I think, to go out on top, and that was really a way to go. I don't know if it should have been on Tame. I think maybe this should have been Nynaeve doing this, and then Egwene maybe fought Demandred, maybe. I don't know. I feel like some of these should have been mixed around. That's just my early thought on it. But none of it's bad. None of this is bad. This is really good stuff. I'm not emotional over that one, but I'm still just kind of shocked at this point because I think that this and Brigitte, before Brigitte came back, happened like not back-to-back chapters, but like 3 or 4. And they're not chapters. They're sections of this one long chapter. You know what I mean. Yeah, so it turns out, speaking of Logain, it's his turn to take a swipe at Demandred. He gets there, and they have a pretty much a badass wizard battle because, we've seen 2 sword fights now where I'm like, okay, is Demandred just going to lay everybody out with swords? But Logain shows up, and they start kicking some ass. Really good fight. Demandred's trying to cheat by throwing rocks. I mean, cheating. It's cheating? I mean, it's like... Who do you think you're fighting here? I don't really. I believe Logain even actually accuses him of cheating. So that's good stuff. But just again, it just shows that Demandred's a badass, and this is where I feel like my proclamation that it was a glitch in the pattern, and that there were actually 2 dragons, and that Logain was almost as powerful as Rand or Lews Therin, and I guess that kind of takes a hit here, because he isn't able to take down Demandred. And I mean, honestly, I don't think it was really that close. Demandred takes him out, not easily, but he doesn't seem like he really broke a real sweat over it. And so I'm completely floored, again, that this is finally the Forsaken I've been led to believe for so long were such badasses, and it's finally happening. So it's all good. It's all good. So Berlin takes care of the wounded Galad, and he gives the medallion to her to take back to Mat, but she gives it to Lan. And this is Lan's big moment here, but I want to talk about the burning arrow scenes that Tam does, where Lan, I think you see stuff from the point of view of Loyal, and he's saying, I want to chronicle this, chronicle the last king of Malkir, because he's about to die. There's no way he can even get to Demandred. There's too many Trollocs or whatnot. And Tam's like, check this shit out. And they all just do like this perfect burning arrows and take down Trollocs one at a time so Lan can make his way to that fight. It's just gorgeous writing. So good. It's one of those things that, like, if the TV series ever makes it this far, this needs to be something so epic and so beautiful that you cannot even handle it, because it was written that way, and I loved it. It was one of the best moments in this whole book for me, for sure. But Lan and Demandred are going to cross swords here, and I'm like, all right, 3rd time's the charm, right? Right? So, I've been saying that I've been wanting Lan to show up this whole series. I still wish it had happened more often, but obviously it happens here, and there's no better time than now. I do love the "Who are you?" and "I'm the man who will kill you." That's an awesome line. And it's a good sword fight and whatnot, but Demandred tells him, you can't win. And Lan's like, yeah, I never said I was going to win. I said I was going to kill you. And this goes back to the sheathing the sword lesson from way back in book 1 or 2. The purpose is to gain more than you lose and only be used as like a last resort. And I'm howling, how can you kill Lan? I thought he was dead. I did. I read it that way, that he died there. So when he was actually alive, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't as bad as I thought. Or, so much going on, he might have gotten healed and I just missed it. But I thought he was dead. But he does, run the sword through Demandred's right through here. So good death, good fight scene. It's just good stuff. And it's pretty much effectively ends the last battle, except for Rand's a little bit or whatnot. But there's some off-screen deaths. Gareth Brent already mentioned Davin Bashir and his wife, Hurin. So many characters, you can't be like giving me a special moment every time one of them are going to die. So I like that actually there was some deaths off camera or whatnot. And I know that Gawyn is a primary character, and that one is a big one. I'm not going to lie, though, I was expecting more death. And I know this isn't grimdark, but I felt like there was going to be more death. I really, really did. So I'm surprised that the good guys kind of made away as well as they did. Where are we at? Okay, yeah, we're gonna do with Perrin finally wakes up. How about that, Perrin? Welcome to the big show. The fight's over. You want to come on down? But he confronts Slayer again, and here's the thing about the wolf hunt, the wolf hunt or whatever. Again, it just doesn't land for me because I just don't care about Slayer. I don't think he's that good of a villain. I'm just not that invested in it at all. I feel like you knew it was going to happen, that Perrin was eventually going to overcome this and find a way to beat him. And he does. He does. The big thing with Perrin here is him and Matt show up outside of the Pit of Doom, and they're confronted by Padan Fain. I thought, okay, well, what Perrin heard earlier, he's going to go kick some ass. He's going to tear up Padan Fain, right? But Padan Fain attacks Matt. And Matt, and I don't think that Matt was dying, but it was kind of like, he comes up behind him as the, I don't remember what they call it, Mashadar, the smoke, and actually knocks him off his horse or whatnot. And apparently Matt gave him a wink, and Perrin knows, okay, go to the Pit of Doom. I've got this or whatnot. It is a really good line where he basically tells him, Fain, the thing about diseases is once you catch him, you can't catch him again. And he stabs him with the ruby-hilted dagger, killing him. And while that's really cool, it really made me question, what the hell was Padan Fain's point in the story? Just to sow chaos, to show up once a book, if that, stab someone with the dagger and run away? I just don't even understand what they were trying to do with this character. So I'm sure there's someone who will give me a 4-paragraph thesis in the comments about why Padan Fain was important to the story. I don't know. It's one of those roles that they do with a TV show. I hope they expand it because, him showing up once in a while to stab someone and run away, not going to cut it for me. So, I feel like a little bit of a wasted opportunity there because you had a really good opportunity to make him a bad, bad, bad villain. And he just was a dude. He was just a dude that would show up and stab someone and leave. So there we go. Rand hears the voices of all those that have died for him, telling him to let go. And like I said earlier, tell him that it's okay for us all to make sacrifices too. It's not just you. He hears Egwene's voice as one of them, telling him to let go. And he does. And that's when he's able actually to get out of the pattern here. Perrin is actually under compulsion by Lanfear at this point, which I figured that was... I never trusted her, and I don't think Perrin really did too, but now you see, obviously, he was under compulsion, and she's like, okay, it's time for us to usurp this thing, because the Dark One's about to die, and I want to take his place, and me and you, we can rule the galaxy as lovers, right? That kind of thing, or whatnot. And Perrin starts to think about it, he starts to consider it, and she's like, okay, you kill the small one, you're attached to Moraine, or you grew up with Nynaeve, so you kill the small one, talking about Moraine, and I'll kill this one. And he does what he always does. He thinks about Fail, and he's able to overcome it. Because that's what Ta'veren do, right? They overcome everything. And he just snaps her neck like a twig. And I won't say it wasn't satisfying. It just... everything's got to be about Fail. Anyhow, guess... just Perrin... You went from my favorite character in this story to just some dude. I hate that. I don't think he finishes as a top 5 character for me. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer, man. Really is. But Rand is returned from the pattern. He resumes his duel with Moradin. And Moradin eventually gets the upper hand, takes Kalendor from him, realizes he can draw the true power from it. And we find out this is planned because of the flaw in Kalendor that says women can control a man that uses it. If that's something that was said way earlier in the book, I forgot about it. So yeah, I didn't see this one coming at all, and that is why Moraine and Nynaeve have been standing here this whole time. And they put a hand on each one, put a hand on him, and take control of him. And they weave Sidar, Sidene, and the true power, and they make this big ass weave. And Logain breaks the seals, open the Dark One's prison, and then Rand banishes the Dark One outside the pattern and repairs the bore, ending the last battle for good. And that is where we are at the end of all this. And this is where I realized I've only got like 30 pages left. And I'm going to say I'm actually surprised how rapid this ending is. I don't know if it's just, this is just preconceived stuff I have from other series where it seems like there's an extended wrap-up. And everyone's always going to go to the, oh, would you want like a Lord of the Rings? No, I didn't need a scouring of the Shire or anything like that. I don't know. It's just so quick. But I also admit that at this point, I didn't want it to end. You know, this was it. And I knew that this was the last moments. And I started getting choked up, knowing this is it, man. This really is it. But Matt reunites with Tuon. She announces she's pregnant. So, okay, there's kind of a semi-happy ending for him. Perrin finds Fail in a very overly melodramatic way. Okay. Cadsuane is named the new Amerlin. That's interesting. She doesn't really want the job or whatnot. And Logain actually steps away from the door. He's having some dark-ass thoughts. He just wants the Sangreal that Egwene was using when she was killed. And he wants to use that for himself, for his own power, whatnot. And what actually like turns him is it's apparently he goes to help these people, I guess just some innocents that were, needed help. I don't really recall exactly who they were, if it's specified who they were, but it's helping women and children or whatnot. And there's a woman who says, like, bless you, thank you so much. If my son is tested one day, he'll be tested one day, and maybe he has your power. And this is when Logain realizes they're looking at this as like a gift, not a curse, and that's what kind of turns away from the dark. Not exactly the whole halo of glory thing that I was expecting for Logain. Basically, I expected Logain to be pivotal in winning this fight here at the end, and it's just my fault, I guess. I had expectations for something that weren't going to happen. Just give me less Androl and Pavara and give me more Logain in this, and that's what I would have liked to have seen happen. So again, as always with these books, a nice little scalpel and a couple of rearrangements, and I think that I would have been like just blown away by some of these things. But if you liked where Logain ended up, I guess I wanted a little more or whatnot. But though unconscious, Rand is dying and Moradin is getting better. And I've had people feel like, did you figure this out? I actually did, and I'm Mr. I never try to figure stuff out. I'm just along for the ride. When Nynaeve said it isn't fair that Rand is getting sicker and dying, he's fading more, and the other one's getting better. And that's when I thought, holy shit, they body swapped or some weird shit like that, didn't they? I couldn't explain it, but that's just what I thought, and mostly because Min, Avienda, and Elaine were not broken up by this. They weren't upset like at all, like they knew that there was some big secret going on. And that's it. At Rand's wake, Moradin awakens, and we see that Rand is indeed switched bodies with him, and he gets stuff to basically go live a new life free of all this, and only I think it's Cadsuane is the one who sees him. That's when she finds out she's going to be the new Amerlin against her wishes. But yeah, he's free of all his burdens just like he wanted, and he rides into the Fourth Age as a free man, lighting his pipe after being revealed he does not have the ability to channel. I know that this is something that has been very wildly debated. I've heard Brandon Sanderson apparently actually confirm something on this with Daniel Green recently. I don't know. Again, I haven't checked it. I mentioned in Towers of Midnight when he was manipulating the plant life that seemed like something that only the creator could do. So I had been wondering, is either the dragon itself actually the creator, or has the creator come and taken over Rand or whatnot? I don't know. Again, these are things I think people have been talking about since this book came out now. So there it is. We are at the end of the story. And like I said, I felt like it was so rapid. And I can acknowledge, like I said, that it just be because you didn't want it to end, maybe. Maybe that was it. But some final thoughts here. This is an incredible ride. Ups and downs. I'm not going to be sitting here. I'm not one of those who's going to tell you this is the greatest thing ever written and you're going to love every minute of it. This is my first reading. There have none of these multiple rereads like a lot of people who say that. And I'm sure if you have the time or desire to do that, you will catch a lot of stuff because the foreshadowing is in the first book in this series. And it goes all the way to the end, and it's very well done. I actually am more interested right now in checking out some explanation of all of Min's viewings. I think those are the kind of videos I think I'm going to look for first. All of Min's viewings and the explanation to what they meant. So yeah, if Robert Jordan had the long game planned from book one, I believe it now. I really do. So yeah, ups and downs. There's some slow stuff that's going to get you, but guys, if you commit to this story, it's gonna pack a punch. Because like I said, I was in tears as I closed this book, and I had a lot of people ask me, you should record yourself reading like the last two chapters. And I didn't do that because one, no one wants to watch that. No one wants to sit there and watch me read for however long it would take me to read those two chapters. But I did take a couple of sniffly selfies, as I called it, and I'm going to show you those now. You saw one in the thumbnail, and this is actually after I put up the very last book, A Memory of Light, for the last time on the shelf, realizing that I was done, and I had the lump right here, big time, big time. Can't really say much more than that. It was about the journey, and it was worth it. It was worth taking. It was worth making. And I'm glad that Robert Jordan made this journey for us to experience, because it is every bit as good as you've heard if you just commit to it and take your time, like I did. 400 days. It ended up being exactly 400 days from when I first started the prologue of Eye of the World to the epilogue of A Memory of Light, and it was a blast. I had a lot of issues along the way, which I have chronicled here for you guys, but I think that you can tell right now, my voice cracking a little bit, that it was a journey very much worth making. And I'm glad that a lot of you guys made it with me. I do plan on doing some sort of a retrospective. I've had some people say, hey, now that you're done, well, you did your why I decided to read, would you do a why you should read? Sure. I plan to do more Wheel of Time stuff on the channel. I want to give it a little bit of time first. It's not a, oh, I'm happy to be done kind of thing. It's draining. It's very draining. I think that's why it took so long to do this last review too. Is it just, it's the culmination of everything, you know. And now that I'm finally here, I'm going to do more Wheel of Time stuff. The TV show's coming out. I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff with that. I've even flirted with the idea of doing a live stream discussion after each episode, if Amazon is smart and they decide to do the weekly thing instead of the whole full series drop at once. I think that would be a lot of fun talking with you guys during all that. But that's really everything, guys. You know, there's going to be more Wheel of Time content, so please stick around if that's the only reason that you're here. But this is not the ending of Wheel of Time talk on the channel, but it is an ending. And thank you guys so much for making this journey with me. I'll talk to you in the comments.